I was just supposed to be a doctor. No attachments, no complications. But that night, everything changed. A private mansion, a dangerous wound, and a man who wasn't just a patient, he was the key to a past I thought I buried. I didn't know he was waiting, watching, and when he appeared before me, everything I thought I controlled shattered. One night, one choice, and suddenly, I was trapped between duty and a danger I couldn't resist. Who was he really? And why did he make me feel alive and afraid at the same time? Don't forget to subscribe to Sweet Serenity DL. By the time I realized who he was, I had already touched his blood. It was warm, slippery, and soaking through my gloves faster than it should have been, pooling against the marble floor of Victor Hawley's coastal mansion like the tide creeping in after midnight. The ocean outside roared faintly through the open glass walls, calm and indifferent, a cruel contrast to the man bleeding out in front of me. My mind didn't register faces at first, only damage. Entry wound on the left side, angle sloppy, not clean. Whoever did this wasn't trying to kill him fast, they wanted him to feel it. Stay with me, I said automatically, pressing gauze against his side. Don't talk. He laughed, a breathless, reckless sound. That's usually my line. Doc. I looked up then, really loped, sharp jaw, blood-matted dark hair, eyes too bright for someone who should have been fading. And that smile lazy, defiant, like pain was just another inconvenience. Leo Whitman, Victor Hawley's best friend. Of course. I swallowed hard and focused on my hands. Shock would come later. Panic too. Right now, I was a doctor. And this was a body trying to give up under me. You've been stabbed, I said. If you move again, you'll make it worse. Noted, he murmured. But I've had worse nights. That's not comforting. He chuckled again, then hissed when I applied pressure. His fingers curled instinctively into my wrist, gripping like an anchor. The contact jolted something sharp and unwelcome through me. I ignored it. I always did. Where's the ambulance? I asked, glancing around. Victor stood a few feet away, phone pressed to his ear, jaw tight, eyes calculating. Not afraid, Victor Hale didn't panic. He assessed, controlled, owned the moment. When he finally looked at me, his gaze was steel. No ambulance, Victor. No hospitals. He cut in. You handle this here. I held his stare. If this goes wrong, it won't, he said. That's why I hired you. There it was. The reminder. The leash. I turned back to Leo, jaw clenched, and worked fast. Every second counted. I cleaned the wound, sutured with precision, my hand steady even as my pulse climbed. Leo watched me the entire time, eyes following my movements with unsettling focus. You're calm, he said softly. Most people aren't. I don't have the luxury, I reply. Must be exhausting, he added, carrying everyone and never dropping anything. I paused for half a second, just long enough to feel seen, and then finished the stitch. You're done talking? Yes, sir. When it was over, Leo sagged back against the couch, pale but breathing evenly. Alive, for now. Victor stepped closer. You're staying. I straightened, peeling off my gloves. I'll monitor him for the next few hours. After that, you're staying overnight, Victor repeated, and possibly longer. I exhaled slowly. My rate triples after midnight. Victor's mouth twitched. Send the invoice. That should have been the end of the conversation. It wasn't. They put Leo in the guest suite overlooking the water-white walls, glass doors, the kind of room designed to make pain feel optional. I checked his vitals, adjusted the 4, and prepared to leave when his voice stopped me. Noah. I froze. I hadn't told him my name. Yes, I asked carefully. He smiled faintly. You didn't correct Victor when he called you that earlier. That doesn't mean. It means I pay attention, he said. Occupational hazard. I nodded once. You need rest. And you need coffee, he countered. You look like you've been awake for days. I ignored that too. As the night deepened, the house grew quiet, too quiet. The kind of silence that makes you aware of your own thoughts, your own breathing. I sat in the adjacent room, paperwork spread across the table, pretending I wasn't listening to every sound Leo made. At 3:12 a.m., Victor returned. You're under contract, he said without preamble. Effective immediately. I looked up sharply. Excuse me? A temporary extension, he clarified, until Leo recovers fully. And if I refuse? Victor smiled. Slow and dangerous. Read Clause 17. My stomach dropped. Clause 17. Non-compete, non-disclosure, non-resignation during critical periods. I'd skimmed it months ago, dismissed it as corporate paranoia. I was trapped. You planned this, I said quietly. Victor shrugged. I protect what's mine. I didn't miss the way his eyes flicked toward Leo's door. The next morning, Leo woke with a fever and an attitude. You hovering over me now? He asked, voice rough but amused. Careful. People might talk. I'm here because you're difficult, I replied, checking his temperature. True, he said, but you didn't answer my question. I met his gaze this time. You don't get to flirt with your doctor. He smiled wider. Good thing I'm not subtle. Despite myself, something twisted in my chest. Not fear, not attraction exactly, something older. He watched me like he was trying to remember something, like I was a puzzle he'd almost solved once before. Later, when he drifted back to sleep, I stood by the window, staring at the endless blue of the ocean, feeling the weight of Victor's contract settle over me. I didn't know yet that Leo Whitman wasn't just another patient. I didn't know he was the reason Victor needed me close, and I definitely didn't know that staying would cost me everything I thought I'd buried. But the blood on my hands, that was only the beginning. I hadn't expected to find him like this, half awake, half grinning, lying in a hospital bed that wasn't really a hospital bed. The coastal city lights stretched across the glass walls, glittering like distant stars, but inside, the room felt smaller, intimate, claustrophobic, almost like a confessional. And yet, there was Leo, staring at me, as though he could read every thought I hadn't said aloud. You didn't leave, he murmured, voice rough from pain and adrenaline. I thought maybe you'd hate me by now. I froze. Hate, the word sounded foreign in my own mind. Hate him. After this, after everything, I only ever wanted him to survive. And still, my hands itched to check his to make sure every line, every monitor was perfect. That was me. That was no avail. Professional, detached, invulnerable, until now. You're awake, I said evenly, hiding the tremor I didn't want him to notice. And you're stable. That's all that matters. He chuckled softly, a sound that tugged at some part of me I didn't want to admit existed. You always make it sound so clinical. No emotion, no fear. Just efficiency, like a robot. Efficiency saves lives, I reply. My eyes flicked over his wound one more time, tracing the scar already forming across his side. Not sentimentality. Leo shifted, ignoring the pain. His eyes locked on mine, and suddenly the room felt warmer, smaller, tighter. You know, you always take care of everyone else. Do you ever take care of yourself? I blinked, taken off guard. Most patients, hell, most people didn't ask questions like that. They complained, they begged, they panicked. Not Leo. He cut straight to the heart, and I didn't know how to answer. Sleep is a luxury, I said finally. Not a choice. He let that hang for a moment before smirking. Still sounds like a robot. I wanted to argue, but something in his tone made me stop. Pause. Listen. Really listen. It wasn't arrogance. It wasn't playfulness. It was familiarity. To familiar. And then it hit me. A memory I hadn't thought about in years, buried under layers of medical school. Late night calls, and endless paperwork. A cold night, a shivering beau, abandoned apartment. I had given him warmth, food, a blanket. I had called him brother, and he had called me the same. And then, he vanished, no warning, no goodbye, just gone. And now, staring at him in that room, I recognized the curve of his smile, the way his eyes measured me. That boat had never truly left. Leo, I whispered. The name felt strange on my tongue, intimate in a way I hadn't allowed in years. He didn't flinch. Instead, he smiled wider, as if confirming something I wasn't ready to confront. I've been watching you, he said softly, leaning slightly forward, though the pain tethered him to the bed. All these years, even when I had to stay away, I made sure you had what you needed. Always. Everything in me wanted to explode. Rage, relief, confusion, anger at the timing, the secrecy, but mostly awe. And something darker, attraction, something that whispered in the back of my mind. A warning I tried to ignore. I didn't know, I admitted. The words foreign, unpolished. My hands twitched, itching to steady him, adjust his pillows, check his pulse. Professional instincts battling personal chaos. Why? Why now? Because I can't stay in the shadows anymore, he said. His voice was low, urgent, intimate. I can't just Watch from a distance while you carry everything. You deserve more than watching your back for everyone else." Before I could answer, Victor Hale appeared at the doorway, the familiar steel in his gaze cutting the room in half. "Leo needs monitoring," he said flatly. "No one leaves, and Noah," his eyes sharpened, almost predatory. "Clause 17 isn't optional." I exhaled, my chest tightening. Clause 17. The leash I hadn't escaped. The trap I hadn't anticipated, and now, here it was, like Victor had been waiting for the exact moment Leo tried to pull me closer, emotionally, intimately. "I'm not leaving," I said through gritted teeth. "Not to Victor, but to Leo, not while you're hurt." Victor's lips curved slightly, almost approving. "Good. That's what contracts are for." Leo laughed softly, a sound that carried pain and warmth all at once. "You're impossible," he whispered, reaching out just enough to let his fingers brush mine. Not enough to violate the line I had drawn, just enough. And in that instant, I understood. The danger wasn't just the wound, or the contract, or Victor's power. The danger was him. Always had been. Always would be. Hours passed, the night stretching endlessly over the city, lights shimmering like fireflies across the water. I stayed by his side, silent, professional, careful. But every glance, every whispered joke, every subtle touch tugged at the lines I had drawn between duty and desire. By the time dawn crept into the room, soft and unavoidable, the weight of it all pressed down on me. Victor had won the contract, I was trapped, but Leo had invaded the walls I had built around my heart. And for the first time in a long time, I wondered if I wanted to leave those walls up at all. The ocean was louder than usual that morning, waves smashing against the cliffs below the estate, as if echoing the storm in my chest. I didn't need a mirror to know I was exhausted. My shoulders ached from hours spent by Leo's side, my hands still smelled faintly of antiseptic, and my mind replayed every touch, every glance, every word he had said last night, but none of that mattered. Victor Hale was in the room, as he always was. The contract hung over me like a noose I couldn't cut, and yet, for the first time, I felt a different kind of pressure, one that wasn't fear, one that wasn't obligation, one that was choice. Leo stirred in the bed, flushed with fever but bright-eyed, when he looked at me. "You stayed," he whispered, a crooked smile on his lips. "You didn't run." "I couldn't," I said, lowering the stethoscope, band moving closer. "Not with you like this." He reached for my hand, this time holding it intentionally, not by accident. My chest tightened, and for a brief second, I almost forgot everything else: the contract, Victor, the rules I'd lived by for so long. Victor cleared his throat from the doorway. "Clause 17, he said flatly, his tone sharp enough to cut glass. "You know the rules." "I know the rules," I said, letting Leo squeeze my hand. "But rules aren't everything. Some things are worth bending." Victor's brow furrowed. He didn't speak, he didn't need to. The tension was thick enough to taste. But for the first time, I realized something crucial. I didn't need his approval to save Leo, or to be near him. Leo's voice was soft, almost teasing, yet edged with something raw. "You know, I've waited years for this. To tell you. To let you see me. I'm not leaving anymore. I won't disappear this time." I swallowed hard, the weight of everything crashing into me. The abandoned apartments, the cold nights, the whispered promises of support he had given me from afar. And now, here he was, alive, hurt, but alive, and staring at me in a way that stripped everything away: every wall, every defense, every bit of professional detachment I had clung to. "Leo," I began, voice low, You saved me more than you realize, and now, I think I need you to stay, for good." Then, without warning, he leaned closer, our foreheads touched lightly at first, the warmth of his breath, his hand pressed over mine. And then, slowly, deliberately, he brushed his lips against mine. It wasn't rough, it wasn't sudden. It was precise, tender, and electric, a kiss that held everything: the past, the danger, the longing. I froze for a heartbeat, then let myself sink into it. The world outside, the ocean, Victor's glare, the contract faded. There was only him, only this moment, only the truth we denied for years. Victor cleared his throat again, but this time, he didn't move forward. He didn't have to. The room was already charged, irrevocably altered. "So be it," he said, voice neutral but not hostile. Just don't get in my way, either of you. Leo pulled back slightly, grinning despite the fatigue and the pain. He always has to be dramatic, he whispered to me. You okay with that? I nodded. I think I can manage. And then, for the first time in years, I allowed myself to truly exhale. The storm outside matched the storm inside, but unlike before, it no longer terrifying me. It felt alive, charged, ready to sweep us into something new. We spent the day together quietly. Small gestures, soft laughter, shared coffee, and whispered confessions. He told me things he had kept hidden, the sacrifices, the loneliness, the guilt of staying away. And I told him things I had buried, my own fears, my exhaustion, my hesitations. There was no judgment, no pretense, no hiding behind protocol, just us, raw and real. As evening fell, the lights of the city reflected in the water. Leo traced patterns on my hand, fingers brushing mine lightly. I want a life like this, he said softly. With you. No shadows, no running, no waiting. I squeezed his hand. The words heady but simple. Then we'll make it one. Victor lingered briefly at the doorway, then left. The contract still existed, yes. But it no longer felt like chains, not when Leo was here. Not when we had chosen this, together. And as the sun dipped below the horizon, painting the coastal city in gold and crimson, I realized something profound. Love wasn't about rules, or contracts, or obligations. Love was about being brave enough to claim it, even when the world tried to stop you. I turned to Leo, brushing a strand of hair from his forehead, and whispered, we'll face everything. Together. He smiled, leaning into me. Together. And in that moment, amidst the roaring ocean and the golden sunset, I understood the truth. The past had shaped us, danger had tested us, but our love had finally won. It wasn't just survival, it was living, fully, freely, and finally, unafraid.